Hey guys, welcome to the first of hopefully many GLC set reviews. Today we're looking at Paradox Rift coming out soon. So what I'm going to do is give a full review of basically every card in the set. I'm not going to do pre-evolutions, just evolutions and basics that don't evolve. If there is a notable pre-evolution, then uh, I'll include it, but I don't want to be here forever, so we're not going to do most of the basics. So how I'm going to do this is I've got a scale, 1 through 5. 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. 5 is this is how I'm doing these rankings. 5 is you need to make cuts for this card. Like, it is the best of the best. It is a game changer completely. You need to put it in. 4 is you need to seriously consider this card for certain decks. 3 is, the average, solid, but probably better options than this. But if you play this, it's still fine. A lot of the time, I put a Pokemon in here, and it was perfectly fine, but it also has like the same exact Pokemon as a different card that is just better. So I will usually put it here. 2 is just too situational or just too cute. Still like a fine card, but is, just a little lacking. And then 1 is just probably can't keep up. In GLC, if you really want to play whatever card you want, then go for it, and you will probably, do fairly well. But there are still outliers that are just way weaker than others. So that's where that is. And then at the very end of this, I am also going to give a bonus of my personal rankings of all the GLC types ranked in order. So without further ado, let's get started. First up, we're going to be looking at Masquerain, which is a 1. Honestly, it's not doing very much. First attack, flip a coin until you get tails. For each heads, shuffle an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon into their deck. I guess you can stall with this. Not reliable. And then 2 for 70 is just not good enough. There are way better options for this. Next is Simisage, and the ability is completely irrelevant. So for 3 energy, you have Arm Thrust Needle, 100 damage during your opponent's next turn. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from Pokemon that have an ability. I think this is pretty solid. Being able to be immune to Pokemon with abilities is a really good effect. It really makes your opponent completely work around this card sometimes. The only issue I have with this card is the cost is, or not the cost, the damage is a little low. Usually you want like the 120 marker. And so 100 is a little low, but still a pretty solid attack. So I'm gonna give Simis here a 3. Next up is Crustle, who has 130 HP, and for 3 energy, also does 100 damage like Simisage, only now you take 100 less damage from evolution Pokemon. So against evolution Pokemon, This is essentially a 230 HP Pokemon. Uh, with the new tool, spoiler alert, you could have even 100 more HP, which makes this a 330 HP Pokemon in GLC, which is kind of nuts. Um, of course, I'm pretty like every single deck is gonna be playing basic Pokemon, usually as their attackers. So this one will be slightly more easy to get around than Simisage, I feel like. And the damage is also, you know, a little low. So I'm also going to give Crustle a 3. Next up is Orbeetle, who has 130 HP on a stage 2, which I think is pretty low for a stage 2. You're pretty fragile. Um, First attack for 1 grass, 30 damage times the amount of energy in your opponent's discard pile. Most of the time, GLC decks are running like 10 energy, and they are usually recovering them quite a bit, and so I don't know how much damage you're actually going to be doing with this. I feel like maybe in the very end game this would be doing a pretty substantial amount, but 130 on a stage 2 is just not good. And then for 2 energy, 100 damage, your opponent's Pokemon is confused. I think this is a 2. It's just uh, it's okay, but I don't think that I think it's just too cute. Um, Next is a Toadscruel. Now, shout out to Forrest. He's going to hate me for this one. So, Toadscruel, stage 1, has an ability. Cards in your opponent's discard pile can't be put into their hand through the effects of trainer cards or abilities they use. This means no recovering Pokemon into your hand, no recovering energy. This blocks Versus Seeker, which is huge. The issue is this is a grass Pokemon, and the bench space for grass decks is so valuable. You're already filling it with Grotle and Torterra, Venusaur, Rillaboom, then your backup attackers, and so forth. So I just don't quite see this making the cut. I'm gonna put it at a 2. It is situational, and in uh, in a type arguably the most important for bench space, I just don't think it has room. But next up, we have Wo Chen, and 130 HP basic. First attack, 1 energy, attach up to 2 grass energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon, which is fine. But the second attack, for 4 energy, does 140, and your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon's attacks cost 2 colorless more. Now, this seems expensive, but you're probably playing this with Venusaur, so it is only gonna cost 2 grass energy for this, and you can immediately get those with Rillaboom, and so this attack is basically free. 140 is a great number. You're probably KOing most things with this, and if you're not, they have to completely play around this, because most likely they cannot respond with 2 more energy to their active to use their attack, and so they have to switch out to be able to attack. So I think Wo Chen is really solid, more than solid. I'm gonna put him as a 4. I would really consider this for most grass decks. if you're playing Venusaur, especially. Next up is Magby, 30 HP basic, and for zero cost attack. During your opponent's next turn, if this Pokemon is damaged at all, you may put 6 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. This is fine. This is fine to use while you set up. You can just stick this in the active while you set up your bench. It's got free retreat. Um, but it's a 30 HP Pokemon. Um, I'm gonna put this at a 2. Next up is Simisear. Um, Again, ability irrelevant, but for 4 energy, you're doing 190, and this Pokemon does 30 damage to itself. So it's already a pretty low HP stage 1, and then you're doing 30 to yourself, so you're going to be at 70, which is really low. However, this is just a huge big hitter. This seems expensive, like the Wo-Chien, but you're probably playing Charizard. So if you have Charizard out, this is really only 2 energy, which is very doable, and 190 is just huge. So I think this is also pretty solid. I'm gonna put it at a 3. It's just you're probably attacking with other things in fire, like such as basics. So, which a lot of the basics have more HP than this Pokemon. So, next up is Volcanion. 130 basic, first attack, 1 energy does 20, and you can attach a fire energy from your discard pile to 2 of your bench Pokemon. And then the second attack is 120 for 4 energy. I don't think this is very good. It's fine if you really want to use it, but there are way better Volcanions. So I think you should just use those. I'm going to put this at a 2. Next, I do want to actually point out this Crocalor. If you're playing Skeledirge in your fire deck, this attack for 2 fire or 1 if you have Charizard does 90 damage, which is pretty solid. And then you put an energy attached to this Pokemon back into your hand, and so you actually aren't losing that much, because in a pinch, if you're attacking with this, it's probably getting knocked out, and you just get to recover the energy, which is really nice. So this is probably one of the best Crocalors to use if you're running Skeledirge, just so you know. So I'll put that at a 3, just solid. Next is the first ancient and future Pokemon. We have Iron Moth. So I gotta zoom in on this guy because it's the English version. 130 basic, has an ability once during your turn. When this Pokemon moves from your bench to the active, you can move any amount of fire from your other Pokemon to this Pokemon. So it's an okay ability. And then for 3 energy, 120, it's like, and then it can't attack next turn. This is fine. I think, well, we're gonna talk about another card a lot, but the future booster capsule, if it's attached to this, it is doing 140, which is just makes it go over that, pushes it over the limit, which is pretty good. And so, like, this is fine. I think this only gets better as more future Pokemon come out, and you'll notice that's a theme in this video. So I'm gonna give Iron Moth a 3 for now, but potentially could go way higher as more future Pokemon come out. Chi-Yu, however, um, is very good. 110 HP on a basic is fine. First attack, uh, attach 2 fire energy from your discard to one of your Pokemon. Um, but its second attack for 2 fire or 1 with Charizard does 50 damage, and it's a retaliate. So if something was knocked out, it does 90 more damage. So 140 for 1 energy. This thing is very good. I'm going to put it as a 4. You should seriously consider this for your fire decks. Next is a new Kingdra uh, into the waters. 150 on a stage 2 for 1 energy, reveal the top 6 cards. This attack does 60 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for each energy card you find there. Discard those energy, shuffle the others back into your deck. I think this... Oh, and then the second attack, 2 energy for 120 is okay. The first attack could hit really big, and it's a snipe, which is really solid. I think this is pairs really well with Hisuian Basculegion that shuffles energy back into the deck. So end game, you can use this to dump all of your remaining energy from your deck into your discard pile for a huge KO, and then with Basculegion, you can shuffle all of those back into the deck, doing a lot of damage. But I think there might be better Kingdras. There's the one that with the ability to choose a player to shuffle, draw 4, essentially. And then another Kingdra where you just keep energy in play. I think those see play before this card. But I still think it's fine, so I'm going to put it as a 3 as solid. Alright, next up is Octillery, 110 HP, stage 1, with the ability when you play this, when you evolve this, you get to draw 3 cards, and then for 2 waters it does 60 damage, and then you can potentially stop your opponent's attack. The Octillery that with the ability to draw until you have 5 in your hand is just 1,000 times better than this card. But it is draw if you really need it, and draw is good. So I'm going to put it as a 3. It's solid, but there's just a better Octillery to play. Next is a Milotic with the Lifeboat ability, 120 HP. When you play this, when you evolve this Pokemon, you may use this ability. Each player puts a basic Pokemon from their discard pile onto their bench. This one and done ability on a stage 1 is just has the same effect as an item card. So like this is useful in maybe the spread deck of the water variant that spreads damage and snipes things, but it's on an item, so I think it's just too situational, and there's just a way better card that's not even a Pokemon to do the same exact effect. So I'm gonna give this a 2. Shout out to Garchomp. We have a Mantike, 30 HP basic with free retreat for a 0 Zero cost attack, heal 120 damage from one of your benched Pokemon. I think this is a 2. I don't think this is very good. You're healing something to not get knocked out, but then this immediately gets knocked out, and so you're not gaining too much here. Um, so I think it's just too situational. We have a Palkia, 130 HP, basic for 2 energy, 30 damage. You may switch this Pokemon to the bench, and then for 3 waters, 80. If you're down on prizes, then 80 more damage for 160. This is pretty good. There is the other Palkia that you could argue is better with the stadium block ability and the attack that basically could do the same amount of damage. Um, so I'm gonna put it at a 3. It's solid for now. I think it's fine there. Next up we have Simipour. Again, ability doesn't matter, but it has 3 for 3 energy, 50 damage, and this attack does 30 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. I think in a water spread deck, this card is insane. So it fits specifically in the spread and snipe water deck, so I'm going to put it at a 4. I would really consider this card for that specific deck, but really solid spread attack, and you just accelerate the energy with Baxcalibur, Blastoids, or Frostmoth, so it doesn't even matter. So 4 for a Simipour. Next up we have a Vanillix, Stage 2, 150 HP. It has this ability where your opponent's Pokemon that have 40 HP or less can't attack, and then for 2 water does 110. The ability is good when it works, but when it doesn't, this card is useless, and it's a stage 2. I think it's a 2. It's just too situational and expensive on a stage 2. So next up we have a new Golisopod. 140 HP on a stage 1 is fine. For 1 water, it does 20 damage times the amount of cards in your opponent's hand. You're probably gonna be doing like 80 to 100 damage most of the time, and then the other times you're probably doing less. So I don't think this is very good. But 3 waters for 130 is okay. It is situational. So I'm actually gonna put this at a 2. I originally had this at a 3, but I think it's gonna be a 2. There's just way better water attackers, unfortunately. So next is Wugtrio with the ability. First of all, it's 90 HP, stage 1. Ability: when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve, you may search for 3 tools. This could be fine, especially with the new tools in the set. Spoiler alert. But you're committing an entire bench space in water, which also really cares about bench space, to this one and done effect. So I think it's just too situational, too cute to play. So I'm gonna put it at a 2. Okay, next we have Veluza. I'm very excited about this card. 120 HP basic. Has the ability, if this Pokemon is in the active spot and is knocked out, you may move 2 water from this Pokemon to your bench. One of your bench Pokemon, and then for 3 energy it does 60, and then 20 more for each water attached to this Pokemon. So you're doing 120 with this attack, which is the number you want to hit, plus more if you need to, which is really easy with Excalibur and Frostmoth and Blastoise. Um, and on top of this really good ability, like people are playing attackers with the same exact attack that's already solid, but now we have it on a Pokemon with this ability uh, that you just get to your energy is safe attacking with this thing. So this card is just so good. I think this is my first 5. Yeah, like this can go in any water deck and be great. Um, really really good card. Uh, yep, first 5. And then we go to Dondozo. Okay, 160 HP on a basic is chunky. You're doing, well, the first attack, 1 energy, look at the top 5 cards, and you may attach any basic energy you find there to this Pokemon. So it accelerates energy. I guess this is fine, like going first. Like on your first turn going second, sorry. Where you can just accelerate energy, and your opponent is probably not KOing this, unless they're a lightning deck. And then for 5, which is expensive but doable with the energy acceleration, is 180, which is a big number. So I think this is solid. I'm gonna put it at a 3. There probably are better options for this attack cost, but this guy is chunky. He's good. He is really good. I might consider putting him in a 4. He's like a borderline 4. But I'm gonna keep him at a 3 for now. And next is Iron Bundle. 100 HP basic with the ability once during your turn. If this is on the bench, you may switch out your opponent's active. They do choose, and if you do, discard this Pokemon and all attached cards. And then, so a situational but useful ability. And then for 3 waters, 80 damage, and immunity from the defending Pokemon if it's an evolution Pokemon. So, again, this is like the Simisage. Wait, yes. No, just kidding. That was abilities. It's like the Crustle, except this is complete immunity from evolutions. Instead of just 100 less. So, but 80 is very low, so you are chipping at stuff. And if you're attacking evolution Pokemon, then you're probably not knocking it out. So that is one thing to consider. But pretty solid. With the booster capsule, it's doing 100, which is better. But it's solid. I'm gonna give this a 3 for now, but like the other future and ancient Pokemon, this just gets better with more future support. So, and then we have Chin Pao. Same attack as the other, as his other buddies. 1 energy. Attach 2 energy from your discard to one of your Pokemon. Not super relevant in a water deck because you're already accelerating those energies. Not from your discard, but you are accelerating energy, so you don't really need the acceleration from this attack. And then for 3, you're doing 130 and discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. This card is a 2. There are definitely a lot better options than this card, like Veluza, for example. So I like this will be fine if you decide to play it, but there are just way better things to play. Okay, I think that's the biggest section we have of Pokemon. So next we're going into Lightning. First we have Elekid, 30 HP basic, again, free retreat, which is really good in Lightning. For 0 energy, it just does 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, which is good. Like, you can set up a KO with like Raikou and Regieleki, which is actually pretty good. A great pivot option in Lightning, which you really want, and with Electro Power, this is actually doing 60 to the active for free, and a Muscle Band is 80 or 50 without the Electro Power, so like this is actually like fine. It is a 30 HP basic, but really good if you need to finish something off, and your Lightning deck is already fragile as can be, so like it doesn't even matter. So I'm gonna put this at a 3. This one is pretty solid. Next, this Plusle and Minun are a 1. You don't want to play these. There is this Zebstrika, which is just a 1. You should never play this Zebstrika when the Sprint Zebstrika exists. You're always playing that over this, so this is just a 1. Galvantula, 100 HP, stage 1, 1 energy attack, 50 damage, and it does 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. It's you know, some chip here and there, but it is situational. It is a little cute. I'm gonna put it as a 2 because they're. I don't see you putting this above anything else that is already in Lightning decks, but if you really wanted to use this card, then it's not the worst thing in the world. So, Zekrom, 130 HP basic, for 1 energy, 20 damage. Before doing damage, discard all tools, and then for 3 energy, you're doing 130 and 40 damage to one of your bench Pokemon. This is like standard. This is a very vanilla Zekrom. Like, I swear this exact card gets reprinted every 3 sets as a Zekrom. So I'm putting it at 3. It's solid. It's a fine attacker, but there are probably better options for you. Oricorio is next. 90 HP basic. For 1 energy, shuffle your hand into your deck. Draw a card for each bench Pokemon. So its attack is Colorless, which is very good if both benches are completely full. But if you're using it when both benches are full, you're probably not in a very good position. And then 2 energy, 50 damage, flip a coin of heads, your opponent's active is now paralyzed. I'm going to put this as a 2. I think it's just too situational and cute. Not the worst thing in the world, though. Alright. Okay, here we go. Into Psychic. Okay. And we're starting off with a bang with Xatu. 100 HP, stage 1, with the ability, once during your turn, you may attach a basic psychic energy from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon, and if you do, draw 2 cards. This card is nuts, and you know I don't use that phrase lightly. Yes, yes I do. Um, but this card is actually nuts. You have energy, acceleration, and draw in a single ability that you get to use every single turn, on top of accelerating with Malamar as well. This card is insane. I think it pushes Psychic decks just to another level, and you definitely should be playing this in like every single Psychic deck, in my opinion. So definitely a 5. Next is Latios, 110 basic, for 3 Psychic Energy, 180 damage, and discard 3 energy from this Pokemon. Before, this was expensive, but now with Xatu and Malamar, you can consistently like power this up in one turn very easily. It's probably getting KO'd anyway, so discarding the energy doesn't matter too much. So I think this is really solid. I'm gonna put it as a 3. It's solid. There's a lot of other basic psychic Pokemon who are attacking for 3, hitting big numbers. So I think it is solid. I'm gonna put it there for now. But playing, if you want to play this, I really don't see a problem with it. And then there's a Deoxys, 120 HP basic, 1 for 30, and then 3 for 120, and you move all the energy attached to this Pokemon to your benched Pokemon in any way you like. So you can spread your energy out however you want while doing 120. You can easily power this up. I'm actually gonna put this at a 4. I would seriously consider this for a lot of psychic decks, especially the ones where you're accelerating energy. So yeah, really solid card. Next is Gourgeist, 110 stage 1 with the ability, if this is knocked out by damage, discard 2 random cards from your opponent's hand, and 3 energy, 100 damage. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. I'm gonna put this at a 2. I think it's too situational, and there are just way better options than attacking with this thing. So yeah, a 2 for Gourgeist, but still able to be used. Okay, and then next is Espathra, and geez, Psychic got so much love this set for GLC. 120 HP, stage 1, with the ability, when you play this, when you evolve this Pokemon, until your, or during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage from and effects of attacks done to this Pokemon. It is immune during your opponent's next turn, so it is like the Garchomp's ability that is an insane card, but this is on a stage 1, and then 2 Psychic Energy, which is very cheap with Xatu and Malamar. 70 damage, and if you have Tulip in your discard pile, this attack does 70 more damage. So 140 with Tulip, which, spoiler alert, you're going to be playing Tulip in your Psychic deck. So this card is incredible late game, when you have put your Tulip into the discard. Hitting for 140 and complete immunity next turn is just so good. I'm gonna put this as a 4. You really should consider this card. I might even make this a 5, but for now it's at a 4. Seriously consider Espathra. Alright, next is Tinkaton. 130 HP is stage 2, I think is a little low. For one psychic, 30 damage, discard an energy from your opponent's active, and then same attack cost, 60 damage, but if it has a metal energy attached, it does 120 more damage, so 180. I think this Tinkaton is a 2, just because you probably don't ever want to. I mean, you might be playing some sort of rainbow energy in your psychic deck, depending on certain attackers. But I would much rather be playing the other Tinkaton that is drawing you cards and does a huge amount of damage for basically the same exact energy. So that card is just way better than this. So I'm gonna put it. I had it at a 2. I'll put it at a 3. It is solid. It's fine as an attacker, but the other Tinkaton is just way better. Okay, is this a first ancient Pokemon? It might be. Screamtail, 90 HP basic. 1 energy, 20 damage. 2 energy, does 20 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for each damage counter on this Pokemon. In GLC, I don't think this is super solid. It's already kind of squishy, and but I mean I could see you playing this with like the Giratina with Distortion Door, that just keeps coming back, and if you're attacking with Tina, you can put 40 damage on this thing twice, and then just nuke anything on your opponent's board, which is kind of cool. I'm gonna put it as a 2 because that is situational. I could see it being a 3 though. So, oh, and with the booster, actually with the booster, this gets 60 more HP, so it's 150. So it could tank a lot more. So I'm actually gonna put this at a 3. This is solid. We'll have to see how it does. Alright, into fighting. We have an Onyx, which is just a 2. I think it's too situational and just can't keep up. I'd probably actually call this a 1. We have a Gliscor, which is a 1. There's a million other cards you're gonna want to play over this. New Groudon, 130 HP basic. We have for 1 energy, attach a basic from your hand to one of your Pokemon, and then for 3 energy, 60 times. Okay, so you discard up to 4 energy from your Pokemon in play, and it does 60 damage for each card discarded this way. This is okay. You can hit really big numbers. The issue is fighting doesn't have the greatest energy acceleration in the world, especially for GLC. It has a couple stage 2s to accelerate that are good, but besides that, there's not much else. But I think this is solid, so I'm gonna put this at a 3. Next is a Mindshow. This is a 1. You're never using this ever. Minior is also a 1. This card is terrible. Never use this. We do have a new Garganacl. The other Garganacl is a very different card, but they're both really good. 160 HP on a stage 2 is pretty good, and the ability is once during your turn you can accelerate a fighting from your discard to one of your Pokemon, and on top of that you heal 30 from that Pokemon, so a little bit of tankiness while accelerating energy, and then for 3 energy, 140 damage, which is fine. Um, I would say this is a 3. Um, there is a Colossal that is arguably better for energy acceleration, which is also a stage 2. Um, that's probably the only reason I'm putting this at a 3, and there is the other Garganackle, which is so good for healing. Um, so yeah, a 3, solid, really solid Mon, but probably better options than this. Next is a Cloth. For 2, you're doing 30 damage. If this is affected by a special condition, it does 160 more. So if you can find a way to put a special condition on yourself, I guess. And then for 2 other energy, 80 damage, and this Pokemon is burnt. So I guess there's your condition right there. But a lot of setup for this payoff. So I think this is a 2, just too situational, and I don't think like it's okay if you can make it work, but too cute. Flamigo, 110 basic for 2 fighting, 20 damage plus 20 more for each of your opponents benched. So with your opponent having a full bench, this is doing 120, and you're making your opponent really consider their bench spaces. So I think this is a 3, pretty solid, but there are probably still better attackers than this to use. Slitherwing, 140 HP on a basic is good, 200 with your capsule, so that's good. 1 fighting, discard 1 card from your opponent's deck, so a little bit of mill, and then for 2 energy, 120, this does 92 itself, and your opponent's Pokemon is now burnt. It could survive if it has the capsule on it, but that's still a lot of damage to itself. But it's a fine attacker. It's kind of a glass cannon. So for now, I'm gonna give it a 3. And it could go up with more ancient Pokemon to come out. We'll see if they do though. All right, Ting Lu, the last of the fighting, 140 HP basic for 1 energy. Attach up to 2 energy from your discard to one of your Pokemon. And then for 3 energy, which is expensive, 220 if this Pokemon has 4 or more damage counters on it, this attack does nothing. Huge attack, which is actually it is relevant with the amount of HP things are gonna start having with the cape. So it's okay, and you can heal with Garganackle and stuff, which is good. So I'm gonna put this as a 3. You might be getting 1 attack off with this, and then you might not be attacking anymore. But solid attack. So alright, we have a new Crobat. 130 stage 2, 2 energy, 50 damage. You get to choose items or supporters, and your opponent cannot play them next turn, which is a very good very good effect to have. Being able to, if it was like just items or just supporters, this would already be a consideration, but the fact that you get to choose is really nice. And then for 3 energy, you're doing 130, which is solid. I'm going to put this at a 3. You might want to play other Crobats over this, like the one that takes bonus prizes, but this is still a very good first attack to really slow your opponent down. Next is Absol, 100 HP basic. For 1 energy, you may discard any number of cards and draw until you have 5. So pretty solid in the early game. For Dark, it doesn't have very much draw, so this is pretty good. Then for 2 energy, 20, and if this has a tool, you're doing 60 more, so 80. So I think good chip in the early game. So I'm gonna put this Absol at a 3. I think it's solid. I don't know if I would put it in my Dark deck personally. I'll have to see though. This Leopard is a 1. You're never playing this over the other Leopard that draws cards, like, ever. New Garbodor is also a 1. This card is literally garbage. Don't play it. Yveltal, 130 HP. 2 energy, 30 damage. If they're an evolution, it does 60 more. So 2 energy, 90 against evolutions, which is okay. And then for 3, it's doing 120 discard and energy from this Pokemon. I hate this second attack, actually, because in Dark, there's just way better attackers who can hit more for less. And I also, there's just there's better Yveltals. I'm gonna say this is a 2. Okay, Thievel, 110 HP, stage 1, with the ability, once during your turn, when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may look at your opponent's hand, choose 2 energy cards you find there, and have your opponent shuffle them into their deck. This is a 2, way too situational, and it's a 1 and done ability. Like this is just not worth it. So, Morpeko, 70 HP basic, with the ability, if this Pokemon doesn't have any energy attached to it, it has no retreat, which is actually, like, kind of nice. And then 2 dark, 70 damage, move 2 dark energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. I think this is actually fine. I'm gonna put it as a 3. Is solid. If you're attacking with this, your energy is way safer, and it just makes this have free retreat next turn if you are surviving. So I think it's fine. Yeah, a 3. Unfortunately, you're never playing this low kicks because it's a dark type. Brute Bonnet, 120 basic, with the ability, once during your turn, if this Pokemon has an ancient booster energy capsule attached, which you're probably wanting to play, you may make both active Pokemon poisoned. And then for 3 energy, you're doing 120, and next turn this can't attack. With the booster, this is a 180 HP Pokemon that's a basic, doing 120. I think it's fine. It's solid. Probably better options, but again, if we get more support later, I could see this definitely going up. You're never playing the Steelix. Jirachi is a 1 in GLC. You're never playing this over amazing rare Jirachi or the team up Jirachi. They're just 1,000 times better. New Ferrothorn, 140 HP, stage 1, with the ability, this Pokemon takes 30 less from attacks, so essentially 170 HP. For 2 energy, 50 damage. If you used this attack if you use this attack next turn, it does 100 more damage. I think it's a just too situational. Metal is already a little slow, and there are just tankier options than this. Durant is a 1 in GLC for sure. It usually always is. Aegislash is a 1. Stage 2 where you're immune to stuff that people can't even play. So that's a 1. Zacian, 120 basic, 1 energy, 30 damage, and you attach metal from your discard to one of your benched. And then for 3 metals, 130, and this Pokemon can attack next turn. Pretty solid. There are ways to accelerate energy, so this isn't out of the world, and 130 is solid, so I'm going to put this at a 3. It's solid, but probably better options. This Earthworm is a 2. It's fine, but the other Earthworm is just so much better, and the attack is not good. Alright, here's the only dragon Pokemon in the entire set for GLC. Whether it's good or bad, Tatsugiri. We need more love for dragon, holy crap. 70 HP basic. For 1, does 20 damage. For 2, you're searching your deck for up to 2 cards and putting them into your hand. And then you can switch this Pokemon to your bench. If you're starting this and you open like a double dragon, or like if you start playing double colorless, you can use this like first turn going second, which is great. Every other time you're never using this card, so I'm gonna put it as a 2, just too situational. New Porygon Z, 150 HP, has a unique ability. When starting your turn, you may flip a coin. If heads, you may choose up to 4 basic energy from your discard and attach them to this Pokemon. If tails, discard an energy from this Pokemon. This ability on a coin flip is, and then it has an attack, 40 damage times the amount of energy attached to this Pokemon. I guess this is okay if you're running a basic energy colorless deck, but I highly recommend you run the special energy route with the other Porygon Z. It's just so much stronger than this particular Porygon Z, so I'm going to put it as a 2 because the other one is just so much better. New Ambipom, which is terrible, is a 1. This Miltank is 120 basic for 2 colorless, 60 damage. If this Pokemon was healed this turn, this attack does 90 more damage, so 150 for 2. Especially with some healing energy. This isn't out of the world, so I think this is pretty solid. So I'm going to give Miltank a 3. Next up is Exploud. 160 stage 2. Its first attack, discard your opponent's active Pokemon and all cards attached, but you can only use this if it evolved this turn. And then for 3 colors, 140 damage. Pretty strong first attack, but it's on a stage 2, so I think it's... I'm going to put it as a 2, just too cute. Spinda, 80 HP basic with the ability, if it's confused, you may flip a coin and prevent damage done to this Pokemon. For 3 energy, 100 damage, and this Pokemon is now confused. Uh, I, I mean, it's okay with you have a few damage modifiers you can use to up this damage. Um, but I definitely don't want to be attacking with a confused Pokemon. So I'm gonna put it as a 2. Just it's too cute. Next up is a Cyclizar. 120 HP basic for 1 does 30. For 3 it does 70. If you played a supporter this turn from your hand, it does 70 more. So 140 for 3. You're and you're like playing a supporter all the time. So I actually think this is a really solid pick for Colorless. I'm gonna put this at a 4. I would seriously consider this for your Colorless decks. Next is an Iron Jugulus. 130 HP basic. For 3, it does 50 damage to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon that already have damage on them. For 5, it does 150. If this has a future boost energy attached, you can use this for 3 energy instead. Um, I think this is a really, really solid Mon. With the booster energy, you're doing 170 for 3, which is nuts. Um, and if you uh, have a colorless spread deck, then this first attack is actually ridiculous. So, um, really solid Mon. I'm going to put this at a 4. I would seriously consider this for certain decks. Alright, now we're going into the trainers. Last thing. First up is Ancient Booster Energy Capsule. The Ancient Pokemon this is attached to gets 60 more HP and can't be affected by special conditions. Um, really solid card. I'm putting it at a 4 as more ancient Pokemon come out. Hopefully, this will just go higher. Counter Kencher reprint, very solid card. I'm putting this at a 4. Curse Duster. If the Pokemon this is attached to is knocked out, you can discard a random card from your opponent's hand. I don't think this is strong enough for a tool placement, so I'm putting this at a 2. Defiance Vest. If you have more prize cards remaining, this is a tool. If you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, this Pokemon takes 40 less damage from attacks, which is pretty solid in like a really tanky sort of deck. I think this could be really good. I'm gonna put this at a 4 for those decks specifically. Earthen Vessel is another item that just searches energy. You discard a card to search for 2 basic energy and put them into your hand. Really solid. I would put this at a 4. Future Booster Energy Capsule that I've talked about a lot. The future Pokemon this card is attached to has no retreat and does 20 more damage to your opponent's active. This makes future Pokemon just so much better. I would. This is also a 4. Serious consideration for future Pokemon decks. Larry, new supporter. Flip a coin. If heads, search your deck for up to 2 Pokemon. Put them into your hand. If tails, search for a basic Pokemon and put it in your hand. Then shuffle your deck. This card is a 1. There is way better search. Don't play Larry. Okay, here's Luxurious Cape, new tool. If the Pokemon this card is attached to has no rule box, which your Pokemon do because this is GLC. It gets 100 more HP, and when it is knocked out, your opponent takes one more prize card from your opponent's attack specifically. Remember that. So if it knocks itself out, your opponent does not take an extra card. But this card is absolutely ridiculous. Definitely a 5. Imagine a essentially 330 HP Wailord staring you down. This card is absurd. So definitely a 5. You should consider this in almost any deck. Next we have Mela Supporter. You can only play this if something was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Attach one basic fire energy from your discard to one of your Pokemon, and then draw until you have 6 in your hand. Really solid supporter for fire decks, and even decks like fighting and even dragon. I think this is really good in dragon, actually. I'm going to put this at a 4. I would really consider this. Definitely put this in fire, and I would seriously consider putting this in dragon. Next is Norman. Supporter, draw 2 cards. If your opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon EX, which they never will be, draw 2 more cards. So this is a 1. You're never playing Norman. This is terrible in GLC. Parasol Lady Supporter, shuffle your hand into your deck, draw 4. If you go second and it's your first turn, shuffle and draw 8 instead. Pretty good. If you have this on your second turn, this card is a 5. Otherwise, this card is a 3. So, I'm just gonna keep it there at a 3. Solid, but probably better options. Professor Sada's Vitality Supporter. Choose up to 2 of your ancient Pokemon and attach a basic energy from your discard to each of them, and then draw 3 cards. Unfortunately, there's only 1 ancient Pokemon in each type they're in currently, so at most right now this is only attaching to 1 Pokemon. But if more ancient Pokemon are released, this definitely goes up in rank, so I would definitely just get a copy to hang on to. For now though, I'm going to put it as a 3, solid. If you're playing an ancient deck, then this goes up for sure. Professor Toro's Scenario. Supporter, put 1 of your Pokemon into your hand, discard everything else attached to it. I'm gonna put this as a 2, just too situational. Actually, with the new cape, things can survive way easier, so I'm gonna put this at a 3 as well. Pretty solid. Rika, look at the top 4 cards of your deck and put 2 of them into your hand, then shuffle the cards and put them on the bottom of your deck. I think this is a 2. I think it's just too situational and cute and not strong enough. Rourke Supporter, draw 2 cards, put a basic energy from your discard into your hand. 2 situational, this is also a 2. Chantal, flip a coin. If heads, switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. If tails, switch your active. This is a 1. You should never be playing this card ever. Just play Guzma and Lysander or Boss's Orders always. Yeah. Snorlax Doll, 120 HP item. If this is in your hand when you're setting up, you may place it face down as if it were a 120 HP colorless basic Pokemon. You cannot play it any other time. At any time you can discard it, It cannot retreat, it cannot be affected by special conditions, and your opponent does not, your opponent does not take a prize if it is knocked out. Way too situational, but if you pull this off, it's insane. Just a wall that your opponent has to get through before they can actually get to anything, so I'm putting it as a 2, just too situational. Alright, we have the TMs. This tool lets you use this, the blindside TM lets you use this attack for 3 colorless. It does 100 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon with any damage on it. I'm putting this one at a 2, maybe a 3 for things that spread damage. What's interesting is you can use this attack with Pokemon with ancient traits that take extra prize cards, which is actually really funny. So I actually think this is a 3 because of cards like that. You can really take advantage of taking extra prizes. The TM Devolution, they can use this attack for a colorless to devolve all of your opponent's evolved Pokemon. Pretty good in a spread deck, so otherwise you're probably not playing this card. I'm going to put it at a 3 for a solid, but probably better options. The TM Evolution lets you use this attack for a colorless. Choose up to 2 of your bench Pokemon and search your deck and evolve them. Straight away, this card is a 5. I think this is going to see play in so many decks. This card is nuts. Definitely a 5. And then the Turbo Energized TM, you get to use the attack for a colorless. Search your deck for 2 basic energy and attach them to your bench Pokemon in any way you like. Early energy acceleration, really solid. I'm going to put this at a 4. Serious consideration for some decks. Being able to just put 2 energy straight away onto like a Guzzlord would just be the most terrifying thing if my opponent did that. So okay, Techno Radar. You must discard a card from your hand to play this. Search your deck for 2 future Pokemon cards. Reveal them, put them into your hand. This card is not good right now, but if more future cards come out, this does get better right now. I'm putting it at a 2, but it goes up with more. Tulip. New supporter, put up to 4 in any combination of Psychic Pokemon and basic Psychic Energy cards from your discard pile into your hand. For Psychic, this is Clara just a million times better because you get to pick your ratio. This is a 5 for sure for Psychic decks. Really, really solid support, and this is what you're going to be wanting to play with Espathra if you're playing Espathra. So here she is. Lastly, we have Medical Energy, the only special energy to come in the set. It provides a colorless energy, so you're probably only playing this in colorless decks. I mean, I guess you could in others, but when you attach it, you heal 30 from that Pokemon. Great for Miltank. I'm going to put this at a 2, just too situational. Healing 30 probably isn't too big of a deal. So yeah, a 2. And that wraps up the set. The rest are the illustration rares and secret rares. Now I'll go into my rankings of the types. Currently, I have Dark, Psychic, and Lightning at the very top. Colorless was there, but with the ban of Pokemon Research Lab, I think it is taking a really big hit, and I'm putting it in A. It could still be here. That could intertwine, but for now, I'm putting it down in A. Dark, Psychic, Lightning, I definitely think are the best types. Um, the others in A, I'm putting Water, then Grass. A lot of archetypes for Water and Grass, and all of them are pretty solid. Really good decks. Um, for B, I'm putting Metal and Fire. Metal is really tanky and solid, but a little slow, and Fire I think is just a little too clunky. Um, in C, I have Dragon and Fighting. Dragon just being really hard to use, and Fighting just a little clunky like Fire. But I think Fire has more support. And then lastly, as always, Fairy is going to be in D tier. Um, so that's going to wrap it up for the Paradox Rift GLC complete review. Let me know if you disagree with anything in my rankings, as well as the type rankings in the comments, and hopefully I get to do this more. So thanks for watching, and bye bye.